Hello, and welcome to the Joy After Grief video series. This is John Hayes, Father John, as many people know me. And in just a couple of minutes, I want to talk about how light overcomes darkness. But first, I think I need to, set the stage a little bit and give some background. So, I have a birthday coming up, and beginning today, I'm going to release a video a day, every day for 50 days, leading up to my 50th birthday. And the goal is to raise $50,000 for the Tom Coughlin J Fund. Now, the J Fund is a wonderful charity founded by famous NFL coach Tom Coughlin, and they help families fighting childhood cancer. They do this in a variety of ways. They offer financial assistance so that people can pay their household expenses, household bills and other expenses. They help with financial planning. They do a lot of really good work. I know this from personal experience because several years ago, when our younger son was fighting childhood cancer, the J Fund was there for us, and they helped us out in some very practical ways. So it is my pleasure, it is my joy to help raise this money for them. Now, there is another piece of the puzzle, and that is I'm writing a book, and I'm going to release that a few days before my birthday. I will probably talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. And as far as the video series goes, really all I'm doing is I'm just looking back over my life and all my experiences. I mean, just as a human being, as a husband and father, an educator, a priest for over 11 years now. I'm just going to try to share a few lessons, maybe insights into how I think life works. And I'm just going to share a different lesson each day, and that's all really. I just trust that that will be of value to you. Um, but just know that in all of this, whether it's the videos, whether it's the book or emails I send out, the point of it all is to raise this money for the Tom Coughlin J Fund. In fact, you can go to the website for this. If you're not there now, if you haven't been there yet, it's joyaftergrief.com. And all the videos are there. You can sign up to get emails from me. It'll tell you how to make a donation to the J Fund. So let's talk about how the light overcomes the darkness. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and take off my collar. I'm a priest of the Eastern Orthodox Church, and that is a huge part of who I am and what makes me tick. And I'm not ashamed of that or anything like that. But I think that in this context, I know the collar can be a little bit much for some people. And I get that. These aren't sermons. I'm not trying to be preachy, so to speak. So even if you're not a religious type of person, just wherever you're at, really, I'm just sharing man to woman. This is just some of what I think I've learned about how life works. So, darkness. We can't escape a certain amount of experiencing darkness in this life. And I don't know, what darkness you're struggling with right now. I don't know how intense it is. I don't know if it's related to something that's happened to you recently or if this has been going on for years or even decades. Um, all I know is there are times when we struggle with darkness, in our lives and inside of us. And I know that there are times when it's like life just hits us so hard upside the head, or just takes a knife and stabs us so deep in our heart that it's just like the lights go out, and we just find ourselves just like in a very dark place, or we can't even see. We're struggling to even find any light. And we really find ourselves in a very dark and lonely and difficult place. And I was thinking about this, and believe it or not, I found myself remembering an experience I had at summer camp as a kid. So I think I was about 10 years old, something like that, when this happened. So anyway, I was at camp up in the mountains of North Carolina. I was in a boys' cabin, and we went on this camping trip, and it was a pretty big deal. It was like a 3 or 4 mile hike, so we were way away from the main camp, and we made it to this campsite. And I remember that it was near this mountain stream. I mean, really a torrent. It was like a waterfall. I mean, it was so loud You could barely have a conversation. I mean, it was just this overwhelming sound. And anyway, there was this like a platform where you slept on. It was like this wooden platform 2 or 3 feet off the ground. It was a large square, and then it was covered with this canvas tent, this very thick material. So there was a roof on it, and all four sides were closed in. So like when you closed the tent flap, you were like in a house, and this thing would seat, I mean not seat, but fit like I don't know, 15 or 20 campers and their counselors pretty easily. So it was very big. And what I remember about this camping trip, was at night, once the lights were out, it was so utterly dark. Like, I've been caving a couple of times in my life, and it was dark like that. Like you can't see your hand in front of your face, just utter darkness. It's really kind of scary. And the thing is, I remember like during the night, this happened like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. I remember this is, like a kid would wake up and they would just reach for their flashlight. They would turn it on and shine it around the room, just because they had to check to make sure people were still there. Because, when you woke up, not only could you not see anything, but like you didn't hear any human sounds, like not snoring or anything, not even people breathing, because all you heard was this waterfall. So it was strange, and it was really kind of scary. So even though your mind is telling you, well, I know where I am, I'm on a camp out, and of course I'm here with 15 other kids, like you had to reach for that flashlight, and then you'd shine it around, and you're like, okay, everybody's here, I'm not alone, I can go back to sleep. So I think there's actually a lesson here for us. And so when we find ourselves, in our life, like we're in a really dark place like that, where it's so dark inside of us, we just can't even see. What I believe and what I've found to be true for me, and I've seen it in many other people's lives, what I've found is if you look hard enough, if you reach deep down inside, you can find at least a little bit of light. It may be a tiny amount, almost like a match, like you have this little book of matches that you find. But you can find that light if you look for it. And maybe while you're looking inside yourself, maybe you add a prayer to God. It's just like God, I don't even know if you exist, but if you're there, please, please help me. Help me find light. And maybe you reach out to someone a person. But sooner or later, you can find this light. And even if it's just like a little match, it's enough. As soon as you light that light, you can see. You can see, and you look around you and you realize you're not alone. That there's people there with you. There's hope. There's light. And you look inside your soul and you realize, okay, there's more going on here than just darkness. I'm still alive, and I've got resources. I've got people. And, it gets even better because, we're talking about the human soul here. And so actually, if we want this to happen, it can happen. We can actually take that light and grow it. And our match can turn into a candle. And then this candle can turn into like one of these Coleman lanterns. And then eventually it can actually turn into like a fireplace in a corner of this tent. And it just gives off this warm human light, and it's just our choice. If we find that little bit of light to start with, then if we're patient and we work at it, we can actually grow it into this warm human light. And so we wait, we're still in this dark place. It's still hard. It's still difficult. But, we're human and we have hope and we have life and we have light inside of us. And one of the reasons that's so important is this, because sooner or later the time comes when we're ready to go to the doorway of our tent, pull back the flap, and step outside. And when we go outside, we realize it's not as dark out here as it is inside the tent. Like even if it's in the middle of the night, like you live in really tough times, or life is still just really, really hard, externally. Still, even if it's night, there's like this ambient light all around you, and there's the moon and there's the stars. And that the day is coming. And sure enough, sooner or later, the light grows and the sun rises. And before you know it, it is full on daylight. and all of that wondrous light is just flooding this tent. And it used to be so dark in there, but now it's just full daylight. So, this is so important because no matter how powerful the darkness seems, or no matter how thick it gets, light is even more powerful. Light always drives out darkness. It always overcomes darkness. Darkness is temporary in our lives. We can't escape it in this life, but it's not meant to overpower us. It's not meant to define us. The light is stronger. And so my hope for you and my prayer is that you find that light inside of yourself, you nurture it, you grow it, and when the time is right, that you step out of that tent into the fullness of day, ready to get back to living a fully bright and light-filled life, the way that you're meant to live it. And so that's today's message, and thank you, and come back tomorrow, and I'll have something else for you.